All right, we are live and it is up and running. Excited to have everybody on. I know that a bunch of you guys have been getting posts that we have a special guest on our show today. And you know what? It's an honor to introduce this guy. I've had the opportunity to sit onto different Zooms with him and actually watch him in action, whether it's training, coaching. Man, this guy, I'll tell you, they say stiff, the spine of a man stiffens amongst the presence of the bold. And this guy's bold. He holds nothing back. He is definitely an entrepreneur, but a little bit of his bio, this guy has a ton of credentials behind him, but he's a real person and he always keeps it real. And he's actually online marketing, advertising, sales training, coach, business owner. It says here in part of his bio, Chris has been featured on the Entrepreneur Radio Show, School for Startup Radio, Small Business America Radio, and multiple network news stations, including ABC, Fox, NBC, CNBC, and NBC News, which is incredible that Tom and I have the opportunity to have him on our show. And a lot of this is because of Tom. I mean, he has a connection with this gentleman, and it's an honor for us to have you on here. I know you're a busy guy, Chris, and I'm very thankful for you taking the time, because a lot of the people that we've got watching this are local entrepreneurs or all around the world looking to move forward in an economy, whether it's going good or bad, just to move forward in general. And there's no catch here. We're just feeding good information to people, and it's just such a privilege to have you on. So I'm going to pass it to Tom, and then Tom's going to start asking some questions, and we are going to kick this thing off. So Tom, it's all at you now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for being on today. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thanks, Paul. It's been a while since we've been on. I kind of feel like it's been a drought, and I've been missing this. We've been having so much fun with it. So one of the things I like to add to what's amazing about what Chris has done with his business, we talk about the change, the way people do business and everybody working from home and that. And Chris is actually, prior to any of the current times, built a business online. In fact, his staff aren't even in the same city. They're all over the U.S.
All over the world, actually. Yeah,
the
for the most
world.
part, all over the world. Yeah.
So it's completely digital business, and he's great at everything online. So with that said, let's get started. Again, thanks, Chris. So really, the pandemic situation that we're in has changed the playing field a lot, and business owners cope in different ways. And I'm just wondering, a lot of businesses are struggling with the changes that have happened over the last months, and what can they do to adapt or change their way of doing things?
Sure. So obviously we probably have a bunch of different types of businesses here, and you have to look a lot. And I'll give you guys a couple different scenarios here, just things that I've seen. So Tom and I know each other because of the IT world. I used to own an IT provider. Tom owns one now. I am now an IT provider business coach. And so we work together and know each other from that world. And that's one type of business. That's a physical. And Tom, you guys still have to somewhat go out on premise and service your clients a lot. So you still kind of have a little bit of that. But then I look at, and I'll just take my wife, for example. I'm in Austin, Texas in the United States. My wife works for a plastic surgeon. She is a Botox injector. And think about the animal that they're faced with and how they're kind of in a place where they have to see people physically in person because they have to service that. So you have to look at that type of business and how they potentially pivot. And then I have another example, and Tom, you and I talked about this on our pre-call the other day. I have my personal trainer that I work with. She was a fully 100% in-person trainer previously, who has now completely pivoted her business. And I know we're going to talk about her in a couple minutes here a little bit more, but she pivoted her business completely to online. And I train with her now, still same exact schedule, but we're on a Zoom call. Like I'm on an iPad, she's on her computer. I got headphones in and we train. And I kind of had to make my own personal gym at my house, but it's still the same exact basic premise. And I've done the same things and hit all my goals and all my numbers during COVID. So I think the moral of that story is you have to really take a hard look at your business. You have to see what things you have to physically do and what things can potentially pivot to being digital. Tom, you mentioned earlier that I built this business, which is now 3.5 years old. I built this business around being 100% digital. I did this because I wanted flexibility with it. Now, what's funny, if you think about this, I shouldn't say funny, but more coincidental, all the things that have made my business profitable, flexible, easy to do coincided with being very recession proof, also being very, I guess, COVID proof, and then giving me all that flexibility that I wanted also. So a lot of times that change in mindset around the way your business traditionally serviced can really benefit you in terms of cash flow and long-term stuff. Unfortunately, now we kind of got stuck in the middle of this pandemic and it happened. But I think if you're able to pivot in the middle of this, you're going to come out of it way better. I think, Tom, you guys are going to come out of it way better just because you're going to have all this more flexibility. Your clients are being forced down that path. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I would say, and I know a ton of different types of businesses watching, look at your business. What things do you have to physically interact with people? And what things can you potentially turn into an online service model? And service can still be face-to-face, but it's like this. And to give you an idea, let's look at also that plastic surgeon that we talked about. Yes, they have to inject physically, but now they do all of their consults 100% digital, which not only has made them a lot more effective realistically, but it's given them the ability to make those consults very cheap or free. Excuse me. But it's also given the ability to scale faster because they can do that delivery a lot faster, more efficiently.
Sure.
Does that all make sense, Tom?
Yeah. There's time. Even real estate, a lot of businesses have found, I think that, and we might see some of that with commercial real estate, is that they don't need the big real estate to have all their staff in one building. And I think you're a good example of what people can do with staff. Like, you've got a pool now of the whole world to select from. So there's great value in the job market for you, because you can go around the world and pick the best of the best, really.
Well, and we've given people the ability, and it's very interesting. Tom, we met a few years ago now, but I was doing exactly what I'm like. We did not change. We're exactly the same service level, the same, like we didn't skip a beat when this all started because we were built that way.
Yeah.
So it's given us the ability to not have to have any downturn. It's given me the ability to run this from anywhere and have clients anywhere.
That's the other thing too, is the ability to have clients in other places, for sure.
A lot of that depends on the type of business you have, but going back to the plastic surgeon again, he is actually a breast explant specialist is what he does. So if people have breast implants, that's what they actually take them out when there's problems. That's what he does. But they used to do everything all in person, period, in person. So if you wanted to see Dr. Rob is his name, you'd have to physically come here. Now they've moved everything up other than the surgery to 100% digital. And it's much more. So it's just a great example, along with my trainer that we talk about. It's a great way and a great example of how you could potentially pivot your business. You just have to think a little outside the box and realize that if you dictate that process, for the most part, your clients are going to follow. They want a leader. They want an expert to follow. So they are totally willing to do that.
Absolutely.
I think today, I mean, you look at businesses, and I've been doing an online business for many years, and my business is all around the world. And a lot of people that are local with small businesses never thought of that. And I really think that this has forced them into that spot where now they can take it and say, man, yeah, I could do it here, but with technology, this is just, I mean, you're from Texas, I'm from Niagara Falls, he's from Welland, and we can create a relationship, we can do business. And it's just as personal as being face-to-face. And the cost that it would cost to bring us together would be a lot more than it is right now, just sitting here on a Zoom.
Yeah. And a lot of it is you dictating the process. And Tom, you've been on some of my coaching calls, calls, and Paul, I know you have as well. You see how we dictate video. We've used Zoom for 3.5 years. Yeah. We dictate the whole process. We set it. Here's how it's going to be. We don't mandate on our coaching calls that people aren't on video calls, but basically if you're on a video call, they kind of feel like they're left out if they're not. Mm-hmm. So you can mandate that, you can control it. It really works pretty well. And yes, technology has some issues here and there, and Zoom got really thrown under the bus for a little bit, but honestly, we've all been around technology for a while. Their recovery time and their security processes have really, they did a way better job than most companies that we've seen recently, recovering and putting all these. So there's going to be glitches. Yeah. But it's a hell of a lot better now than it was 2 months ago when we were in the middle of this. So I think you're spot on with that, Paul.
Yeah. And the like Paul, you said that you've been doing interviewing people and going out, like you were traveling all the time. You go 90 minutes down the road to Toronto or whatever and do interviews. Now you do it in Zoom and you're done in a half an hour, maybe 20 minutes, as opposed to 2-3 hours or a half a day of your life.
I hate that term, the new normal, but I think this is what it's gonna like from a standpoint of let's be efficient and get it done. Save drive time, save all these different things. People have it's forced them to be comfortable with being on video. It's forced them to have a setup, and now we have the ability to do meetings. I literally have to leave here in like a half an hour, 40 minutes, and I got a call at the top of the next hour. I'm doing it right on my phone.
Exactly.
In the car while I'm driving. So, and it'll still be a video call. I don't care.
You better preface that to say the car drives itself. So
It does.
Sometimes people yell at Chris when he's driving down the road and
well, actually my brother is here. He'll be actually driving during that
okay. All right.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And you're right that you look at what you just said, Chris, about, there's always a good and a bad. Right? When we're in a crisis, there's good and bad. Some people lose money, some people create wealth. And I really think that there is more good coming from this. And it's the residual that's going to come from this pandemic that we're in. The residual is going to be so good because so many people are going to pivot because they were forced to pivot. And their life's going to get so much better if they ride that wave, because they could ride the negative wave and fall apart.
Well, what I like hearing and what you're saying is it's got a positive air to it versus this constant doomsday effect. I have a guy that I know that runs another IT service provider Facebook group, and he had a thing like a graphic up on his group that was like, let's tally how much revenue we all lost during this. And I yelled at him and I'm like, come on, man, that is such a negative thing. Get that off of there. It is a stupid mindset, because if people sit here around and just wallow in all their misery, they'll wallow themselves right out of business. And it's such a hard thing. And it's, you see this whiteboard I have behind me. I had for like literally last 2 months, Tom, you probably saw this. I had, there's always opportunity in disaster across the top of it. And it is such a true thing. And Paul, I agree with what you're saying 100%. This is a chance for you to change your business. This is a chance for you because your clients are being forced to change. So you have the ability to look at it and say, what can I do more efficiently? What can I do better? And you be a leader and you be the expert. And you guys are doing that right now. If you may not realize that, but that's what this is. It's actually, if this wouldn't have happened, would you be even doing a interview with a business coach from Austin, Texas today, virtually, 100% virtually? The answer is probably no. Like, you'd be doing the same stuff you were doing before, probably. And it's given us an opportunity. But what's key is that you're looking at it not with, oh my God, my life sucks, I hate this. It's, I have all these really cool things that this is. Yes, we're all stuck in this. Okay, we get it. We're all together in this. You guys are in Canada, I'm in the States. Like, we're all together though. Like, we're all humans. We're all walking the same earth. Let's work together to make better things happen. That's what matters.
I know for myself that my project works down. Everybody's down here or there somewhere. My project works down. It's on-site stuff, so I'm not doing that much of it. But boy, the blessing that I got in time to work on some of the projects that I wanted to work on for myself, and that I mean, from the positive perspective, it's just given me the opportunity to do some of the things I've wanted to do, which is great.
My wife and I were talking about how much life has slowed down. And it doesn't mean that it's gotten like less good or anything like that. It's just a matter of all the stuff that we wouldn't take time for before. Like, and we've really built some new habits out of this, which has been key. I'm fortunate enough that my revenue didn't go down at all. And, but some of that's based on, Tom, this is based on what I built, and why I built it was for this potential scenario. But I have been able to build a brand new workout habit. Like, I've worked out every single day for 60 days. That's something I've never done in my life. I've also gone on a walk every night with my wife and the dogs. Like, we do this every single day, and it's stuff that we've built that have made me appreciate my relationship with my life partner better. And like all these different things that have come out of it. So Tom, I agree with you. And I think it's all good things. And I think the message for everyone that's watching this, I know there's bad stuff that's happening, but let's look at it from a positive scenario. Let's go on offense versus being on defense all the time. Because what I promise you won't work is sitting around and hoping and praying. But when you can control your own destiny, things matter.
Yeah, a friend of mine always said, hope is not a good strategy. Productive daily habits, that's a good strategy. If you create productive daily habits, my wife and I, we've worked from home and we homeschool our kids, and we've been doing that for about 8 years. And I mean, so nothing really changed for us, but a lot of people at first they're like, you guys are crazy. They're creating productive daily habits. Life has changed. And they're like, wow, we love it. We see our kids more. We have more time with the kids. We're getting more business done. We're getting more accomplished. And you know what? Maybe they're not making as much as they once were right yet, but it's going to change, man. Take that opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love your mindset. Totally love it.
So moving on to another topic, social media to market your business. One of the questions I guess is are you doing anything at all? So for you, Chris, is like, how do you use social media to market your business, and how do you drive traffic to your sites?
Sure. So first of all, I want you guys, not just you two, but everyone that's watching, to realize that we are in a time now where you can reach more people than ever for less money than ever. And I don't care where you are. Some of the biggest influencers in the planet are like, I don't know if have you ever watched that guy that's in the middle of the South American jungle and he's got a YouTube channel and he just like builds stuff out of the earth? It's crazy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy's got like 2 million followers and makes like $100,000, $200,000 a month. And he's in the middle of the South American jungle doing like literally just like digging stuff with rocks. Yeah. So you can build this amazing following. You just have to be different and special, which is not that hard for most of us, really. We just have to be willing to go out on a limb and do some things that are a little different. Tom, you've literally watched me build this over the last couple of years, what I do and what I have. And all you have to do is be willing to put yourself out there a little bit, reach some people. So the answer is social media is without question beneficial for every single business.
I know, Chris, you've said about Facebook, for example, which is a very common social media platform. I think very strong one, and I know one of the tools that you use very heavily. People say, well, that not everybody's on social media, but your response is, believe me, they're there, and most people are in one capacity or another. They're there.
Yeah, it's just getting in front of them. The reason I like Facebook. First of all, it's not the only platform for sure. And you should have diversity in your platforms. You heard me, I use pretty much we don't use TikTok right now, but we use just about everything else. We advertise on Snapchat. We advertise on LinkedIn. We advertise on Instagram. We advertise on YouTube, Google, and Facebook. The reason I like Facebook specifically is the traffic is very cheap. And almost everyone in your market is going to be on it already. And the screen time on Facebook, literally, what do people do? Think about your own behaviors on Facebook. You just sit there and scroll. I walked downstairs. My brother's living with me right now. I just walked downstairs for lunch before I came up here. I sat there at lunch and watched him. He was just on the Facebook watch thing, just scrolling through videos. He was sitting there for an hour. Yeah. That's what people do on Facebook. They don't even yes, they do that on YouTube, but would you believe that Facebook is 22-1 over YouTube in terms of content time, like time that people spend on the platform. So that's why you go there, and the traffic is cheap. But, and Tom, I think you're in one of my large, I don't know, Paul, I don't know if you're in my big MSP IT Facebook group, but I know Tom is, but we've built a really large, and to get this, who are my ideal clients? What are Tom and Paul? IT business owners. So owners, B2B of $1 million businesses, whatever. I don't know what your revenue is, but 500 to $10 million businesses. They're sitting on Facebook and they're actively engaging with my Facebook group every single day. And I have 9,000 business owners in my Facebook group. Mm-hmm. So if that tells you anything, depending on the type of client you have, if your client's consumer based, even more, it's going to be like 10 or 20-1. You just have to build them a really good platform and a good place to go to and drop constant knowledge, not just constantly try and sell, but solve problems. So if you solve problems for people, you're going to have success. I don't care what platform it's on, but that's why I choose Facebook first.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I found you.
It's true.
There, it works. So the other thing is I think you sort of touched on that I actually probably did. That's sort of my last question or third question is, what makes social media so much better than any other methods of marketing, like direct mail, email, cold calling, social media? I know we do cold calling, we do direct mail, we do email, we do all of that. So with different varying degrees of success as well, right?
Yeah, I think, the big key with it is not one should be the only platform. You didn't hear me say that I only use Facebook and that's all I ever use. I have diversity across my mediums. It's very key. We also do cold calling. We also do direct mail. We also do cold email. A lot of but think about the efficiency of reaching 200,000 people around the world for me, or even 200,000 people in Niagara Falls or wherever you are. Like, it's a lot harder to do that. You can bring that through social media really easy, and you can target that traffic very easily and cheaply. Direct mail, I don't care what you do. Cold calling, I don't care what you do. There's logistics and costs that go into that on the backside that are just a lot harder to do and a lot more costly to do. And here's a good example of that. If you want to send 5,000 postcards out, if you want to cover a zip code here in the United States, you have to send out postcards. That's what realtors do a lot. But think of the cost before you even send out a single one, before you drop them in the mail. How much cost and logistics are involved in that?
Yeah.
Massive, massive. With social media, I can make a video for 10 minutes. We could use this video, right? I mean, you can do all these different things. You record live content that people care about and put it in front of someone, and it's very cheap to disperse, and it's very organic, and it's very native versus it's very, and even think more importantly from a business standpoint, if all these businesses are shut down, who's getting the mail? Usually an assistant or a secretary. And how are they sorting it? They're sorting it over this guy.
Yeah.
For the most part, they put the bills and the checks in the CEO's room or the decision maker's room, and they sort the rest into here. So it's all pretty relevant stuff to think about.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, one of the things we're learning from you and your methods and I mean, this isn't an advertising thing, but it's you said a number of times doing it cheaply, and I think that using whoever your marketing people are as you work through your business, you can advertise and reach people and target specifically by doing some specific things. And I don't want to get into the technical detail of it, but you don't have to pay to blanket coverage people on Facebook or on social media. You can build a target audience through organic means, and then just send out that information to that target audience, reducing the cost
to only them. Exactly. Yeah. So think about how beneficial that is. And then even more importantly, thinking about let's say we want to build up, let's take that realtor example we just talked about. And instead of sending out a zip code full, we find the ideal targets, doing research with maybe virtual assistants, or you can buy a customized list if you want to. You buy the ideal list in your specific zip code area that you want, your postal code area that you want. Then you put an ad in front of those people. Then you put an ad in front of them on Google. Then you put an ad in front of them on YouTube. And all of a sudden you're chasing somebody around. They're like, oh, that guy's everywhere. I see him. Yeah. And Tom, I think you told me a few weeks ago that you've had people tell you since you started doing this, I see your stuff everywhere. That's the same thing I get. They see my stuff everywhere because I'm following them around the internet. And I kind of have this rule, like, you're either going to buy from me or you're going to die. One of them is going to happen first. Like, I'm going to chase you around that long. So you're either going to buy or it's going to take forever, and you'll see my stuff forever. That's kind of my goal. And I want to be ultra relevant in their mind. And I do things like video and interviews. And I just came off of an hour-long video interview where I was doing a very similar thing to this in my Facebook group. So people see me, and you drop value and you drop education. Then you put things of value in front of that target audience. That's how you convert them into prospects.
Yeah. And I think what you just said there is value, and the interviews that I've seen you do, and other people as well, I follow them and I watch them because there's value in it for me. I mean, it's easy. I sit back in my chair, I relax, and I listen to someone give me great insight into what I can do to help my business move forward, which is I mean, you can't get that on a postcard or even a phone call. So
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the more you can stay in someone's face, the better. I just finished reading The Ultimate Sales Machine, and
such a great book. Yeah, such a
amazing book on understanding sales. And I think this guy's such a professional and has had a ton of success. But everything that you're talking about, I mean, he's implemented it. You're implementing it. It works. I've implemented it. Tom implements it. It can help you move your business forward. But most people just don't stay consistent.
Guess who
And it's
recommended that book, Paul? Sorry,
Pardon?
guess who recommended that book?
Chris, yeah. Tom recommended it for me, so you could take the credit, Tom.
I was so excited by it because you could hear the passion in the writing. You could see how passionate he was just reading it. It was you knew he was excited writing it. It's unfortunate that he's not with us any longer and hasn't been for years, but the information is still so relevant for sure.
And it doesn't matter what business you own, that book will apply perfectly.
All this stuff applies to all businesses. You hear me, yes, I teach IT business owners how to make more sales, but you heard me reference a plastic surgeon. You heard me reference a personal trainer. Like, it doesn't matter because concepts are really key. And Paul, the last thing you said that kind of got lost there with all that back and forth was that how important consistency is. I started what I'm doing right now, just about 3.5 years ago. And if I would have given up in 9 months, I never would have been successful. It took me like a year to get to the point where I was even ready with my curriculum to put it to a personal and Tom, I don't know if you know this, but I started my coaching with one-on-one. I was doing one-on-one coaching with people directly. I knew it was not very scalable, but I had to make sure that my concepts all worked and panned out. And it took me 10 months to basically do that. And you have to be patient and you have to go. And I made enough revenue that then I said, okay, now I can take this to scale. And I pivoted, and these were all purposeful things. I have a business coach that I work with, and I pivoted my business at the time that was to my goals. That I said, I can't get to my goals if I don't do this. And I forced pivot. And that pivot took me to multi-million dollars is where that took me versus tens of thousands. And so you have to do those things if you want, and if you believe in what you're doing. So it's very important to build in pivot, but also know who your ideal client is and make sure that you are, as Paul stated, extremely consistent for the long term. You can't just give up in weeks. What's funny is the personal trainer I was talking about is my trainer. It's the same as personal training. Like, we do one workout every 3 weeks. How effective it's going to be? Not. You do a workout every single day, or I lift weights 4 days a week, and I ride my Peloton bike every day. And for the first time in my life, I've been able to do that for 60 straight days. And I've seen massive body change. My wife has seen massive body change. That never would have happened if I did it every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks once. Yeah. Consistency is key in everything, especially making money.
Yes. I think you hit on the coach thing as well. I mean, Paul and I've mentored with Paul and obviously with you as well. And one of the things that Paul brought to the forefront for me was not quitting. I mean, I used to tend to give up easily, and if I hit a roadblock, I would just walk away from it. Where a true friend, he wouldn't let me walk away, and we're here today as a result of that. And yourself, Chris, even as a coach, you have a coach. I mean, I think that's an important tool.
I have three. I actually have three.
Yeah. I have a couple as well. Someone on the outside looking in at your business with a set of eyes that's not glazed over and it hits you with the hard, honest truth that you may sometimes need to hear.
I had a guy this morning. Here's a little story around this. I had a guy this morning. He owns an IT firm on the West Coast of the US, and super nice guy. Has been in my program for almost 2 months. Had a call with me last week, Wednesday, was wondering kind of why he wasn't seeing any success. So we went back and looked at his first 2 months. He skipped over all of our onboarding, never did any of it, was on the calls, but never implemented, never did a thing. And I kind of held him to the fire on that. I'm like, why? Like, how are you even sitting here on this call complaining? You're not necessarily, he's like, well, I'm not complaining. I'm like, yeah, well, you're still on the call with me saying you've not seen success. You haven't done a single thing. And it's time we kick it in gear. So I forced him to book another call with me that was for today. So we talked last week. We had another call today. Even over this weekend, he did no homework. He did nothing. He did nothing to do that. I yelled at him on the call. And I was like, dude, I'm not yelling at you. It's tough love. And you could sit here and you can blame me and yell at me for all this all you want. But at what point are you going to hold yourself accountable? Because clearly you're not. He's like, well, I'm not, I got IT. I'm like, no, you have lack of priority is what you have. And he was mad at me on the call. And then all of a sudden something clicked. I'm like, look, I understand that you're not happy with me right now, but it's my job and my team's job to push you to places you're not comfortable. And I understand this is not comfortable, but it's what you're running into. What you're doing right now is why you are sitting where you're sitting right now. So either you get your butt in gear and let's go. And what made me think about that is my email just popped up and he sent me his homework. It just came like while we're sitting on this call and I just saw the alert pop up. So Tom, that goes right to your concept and your thought about you need people outside of your business to force you to be uncomfortable. Because if you look at the garden of life, growth is planted right next to discomfort in that garden, period.
Hey, Paul's used that one. I wonder where he heard that from. Yeah, that's so true. Success doesn't come from comfort. It comes from stepping outside of your comfort zone and actually doing things that you may or may not want to do to force yourself to take that next step.
And hey, nobody's going to sit here. I get a lot of kickback. That's like, well, what if I want to just do what? Hey, nobody's sitting here forcing you to do anything, but you came to me telling me that you are struggling in life and you want different things. So if you want that summer body, you surely cannot eat a pack of Oreos every day and sit on your couch and watch Netflix. You could, that's more comfortable. I'm not going to, hell yeah, that's way more comfortable than doing all this, but you can't hit like one or the other one. Make a decision. If that's going to be what it is, okay, nobody's going to judge you for that, but then you can't complain about not being successful.
And I think complacency is something that we get comfortable. What is it? Comfort in our complacency, and we tend not to do stuff. And I think because we're comfortable, it's easier and more comfortable. We seek comfort. That's what humans are about. We seek comfort, and we're comfortable sitting on the couch watching Netflix because it's easier and it doesn't challenge us in any way. And again, going back to the coach thing, that's what a coach can help you do is put you in that zone where you need to.
So regardless of anything, I would if you're a business owner and you don't have a business coach in some capacity, I'm not the guy for you unless you own an IT service provider. But
we don't let them on our calls.
It's because all they want to talk about is IT. But go find a coach, find somebody that's vetted that you can trust, that you can rely on, and that pushes you, makes you uncomfortable. And if you don't like being uncomfortable, you better, if you want, like, you got to make a decision, like goals, comfort. Which one you want?
Yeah.
And that's the other, go ahead, Paul.
No, I just wanted to say something on coaching because, man, I'll tell you, the past decade of my life, I went from, being born, raised, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and just work for someone else, and then shifted and then got a coach. And at that point in my life, it was the first time that someone edified me, the first time someone found good in me and said, hey, don't talk about yourself that way. You can be successful. And Tom, you said that, you used to be a quitter and now you're not a quitter. And something as a coach for years now is I've always told people that I've helped in life, I will never quit on you. You're going to quit before I quit. I ain't quitting. And if you're looking for a coach, that's who you need to find. Someone who's not going to quit. Now, I'm not saying if you do nothing ever and you don't care, that's you quitting on yourself. I don't have time to help everybody. Chris, you don't have time to help everybody. Tom, we can. But if you want to succeed in life, a coach you have to have a coach. If not, it's just you. And you can't move yourself forward unless you take from someone else, apply it, and move forward. And one of the best coaches that I've ever had in my life is books, right? There's some of the best authors on the planet that are dead and gone, still willing to coach you. And
it's easier to read books now or listen. I don't care. Like, there's no excuses anymore.
No.
Like, I can't, I'm not a very good reader. Okay. Audiobooks. I'm deaf. Okay. Watch YouTube with captions. Like,
there's no excuse.
Yeah. And goals is the other thing. I think the old Gretzky line: you miss 100% of the shots you didn't take. Set a goal, and so many people, I think we've talked about this before, Paul, is that they don't dream anymore, and without dreams and goals, you're going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix.
Yeah,
it's the passion of those goals and those dreams that move us forward, and that's not something that's something that has to be developed, I think, and thought about. And once you start thinking about that, it definitely moves you forward in life.
And having the right coach inspires that in you, right? Yeah. I know listening to you speak when I'm on calls with you, Chris, I've been on, I think 4. And the reason why people plug in, the reason why people are following you is because you're the real deal. You have passion for what you're doing. There's no smoke and mirrors. It's just straight shot. This is who I am because I want to help you succeed because you're succeeding. And that's a good coach. That's somebody that you want to be plugged into. And then I know, Tom, you're right. With dreams, the first book I ever read in my life at 20 some years old was The Magic of Thinking Big. Changed everything. Best book I ever read. And then Chris, I know you always talk about personality books. If you're a business owner and you haven't read a personality book, you're not in business. You're not a people business till you read a personality book. Apply that, man. Your whole life changes when you understand.
And sales psychology, and there's a lot of things behind it. It's far more about analyzing the mindset of people and selling to the problem you solve than it is selling a product. It's far more about that. So Tom, I do need to get rolling here pretty quick.
Yeah,
Did you have any other questions?
I was just thinking I didn't want to take any more of your time. I was just going to wrap up anyway. So perfect segue.
Yeah, I can definitely come back. I like both you guys. It's a good discussion. So we can do this again anytime you guys want. You just reach out.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it.
I just want to know what's behind the red door, man.
The rest of the basement. You know what? I've got 5 of them and they're hinged together and I use them to define my office space. They're out of an old 1800 the original Addercliff farmhouse, apparently.
It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. It's a really cool background.
And they're great for defining space.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, thanks so much for having me. Hopefully it was beneficial to some people out there, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, bud. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Bye.